Yeah, all right. Look out. Look who's back. Same crappy host. Same flickering lights, but we're getting there. Sorry for the delay, guys. This is going to be part 3 of the R33 suspension. Main reason for the delay is, unfortunately, we had a couple of deadlines and I have missed them on the car. My fault. There has been a lot more involved in this than I probably initially thought, and then kind of a mixture of life, work, everything. Unfortunately, I let Sean down on timeline. We wanted to try and get this done kind of late, kind of mid-December at first. I was never going to hit that. Then, yeah, it was kind of a bit later December, and look, unfortunately now we're pushing into January. So, yeah, that's my fault. Not a whole lot more I can say about that. Kind of one of those, I don't want to let my quality lapse just to hit a timeline. I know that's not probably, I need to be trying to keep both up, but with work as hectic as it is and life as hectic as it is, you can kind of only really do what you can do. There's 24 hours in a day, as the boss would say. So anyway, the place around here is looking like an absolute war zone. Got stuff going on everywhere, but we're at kind of about revision 3 in here. So what we'll do, we'll get in the intro and we'll come around. I'll get some lighting in here and I'll kind of run through where we're at, show you what's been going on. Cheers. Alright, so where we're at. Janetta knuckle, we've already kind of run through that. 370Z wheel bearing, like these because they're fairly readily available, decent quality. If you compare the bearing size with the 370 unit against like a stock R34, R33 wheel bearing, the bearing's much larger in diameter. I think I've got a photo somewhere. If I can find it, I'll post it up. Aside from that, we've gone to a double A-arm setup. So here's our upper control arm and our lower. So this arm is mainly looking after our camber, and this guy here is adjusting caster, so we can move the bottom forwards or back. And then with this arm up here, we can do the same with the top. We can change our caster quite easily. So one of the kind of issues I ran into, I wasn't able to get the caster I wanted. We're actually crashing into the spring here. So that was a bit of a, look, I thought we were using a smaller spring. I should have waited until I had all the springs. We have come up with kind of a workaround. So I've actually spaced the control arm back. So you can see I've got a little shim here, and I've actually machined down that misalignment spacer. So that's effectively brought the arm away from the spring, which has meant that I've been able to take some caster out of it. So shooting for about kind of 9 degrees of caster on this. We do have built-in caster, so while 9 degrees doesn't sound like a lot, when you look at most cars, the upper pivot and the lower pivot run through the center of the wheel bearing. So when you then kick that, that's where you get your caster trail. What we've already done here is we've got our upper pivot here, and we've got our lower pivot here running through. So we've actually automatically set back our caster trail by about 20 mil. That there, my understanding and my hope is that we can get the same kind of caster feel because we've got that caster trail, but with less jacking, because caster seems to give you a lot of jacking and kind of weight transfer around the car. So look, that's my understanding. That's how it seems to be playing out when I've been playing around with the cars on the corner weight scales and turning them and all of that. So fingers crossed. He's also gone for a really nice set of MCS coilovers. So the nice part with the Skyline, like mine currently has like a 14 kilo spring in it. So very, very stiff spring, because the spring pickup point is so far inboard. Because we've been able to move these outboard, have kind of a nice angle on them, I believe we're going to be able to go a bit lower spring rate. So this here is actually a 9 kilo spring currently. So my hopes are that we can go a lighter spring rate to kind of not soften the car up, because we'll have kind of an effectively the same wheel rate, but we should have a bit more control over the suspension. So one of Sean's mates, Spud, he's kind of a shock guru. So kind of been working with him and trying to learn a little bit from him. But yeah, that's effectively what the plan is. We've also had Briar Park come through the goods just before Chrissy. So we've got the new rotors. I'm actually keen to get those on a pair of scales once I find where they are, because they feel a reasonable bit lighter than the original rotors that were on it. So those have got to go on. I've got some T6 alley chucked up in the mill. We'll be turning that to chips and making some adapters soon. That's going to be kind of next on the list. I just want to get the car on wheels. So one other thing, I'm sure it is a known thing in motorsport, but depending on kind of you guys and what your experiences are, one thing that I really like is having all my bolts the right length. Not so much like no thread poking out, but in a second I'll pull this apart and I'll show you. So what you would like to have, try and hold you with my knees. Everything fresh bolt holes, everything's nice and tight. I really don't like any of thread touching what we're doing. So like thread touching your aluminium, thread touching your heim joints, any of that, because I feel like it's always kind of a weak point. So I like to get oversized bolts and then specifically cut them down to the lengths I need. Can be a bit of a pain, but I think it's definitely worth it in the long run. So like this bolt package here, you've got pretty much shoulder all the way through just to the last little bit. So that means there we've got no thread touching. The threads will, if this comes like a little bit loose or whatever, it'll actually eat that hole out, but on a nice shoulder it won't touch the hole and it'll actually stay pretty nice. So yeah, just the little kind of 10% bits that you want to do in motorsport. So every one of these bolts are all cut down and just the right length. See if you can see on this one. Yeah, so you can just see a little bit of shoulder poking out. Once the washer comes up, we can nip that down, happy days. So going through as I'm kind of welding and cleaning everything up, giving it all a nice lick of black. Passenger side here, I kind of waited on the passenger side, cut all my cut all my material, made a heap of notes, but I wanted to get the driver's side done first, just so I could kind of prove that it all worked. And now we're on to the passenger side. We've got most of it done. Bottom control arm's made, painted, that's in, it's all loose. Upper control arm, shock mount, so shock tab we've just welded this on here, but we actually pick up on the stock here bodywork. So that's all actually fairly nicely braced in and should be quite strong. It's all a bit dusty from me cleaning up this. This is our next bit that we've got to weld in. So I wanted to get this in because I've got my angle here that I want to match from the other side so that we've got the same kind of anti-squat measurements on both sides, so it doesn't do anything funky in that regard. Steering, that's all been machined. So we've got a 19mm spacer on the bottom here and I believe that was 9mm on the top. That, while cycling through, got us virtually no bump steer, so that's where we want it. Well, virtually no. It got us as close as we could to zero. Any more than that, and we were starting to get kind of binding issues. So, yeah, from here, I'll try and do a bit more videoing. I'm on the home straight now. We've got a little bit of time up our sleeves. Sean is going to be shaking this down at Bathurst. Not my favourite idea, but that's why I'm just going to be going through everything twice, 3 times, 4 times, making sure everything's spot on, ready to go, tight and done. So one of those things. But yeah, I'll get you guys on the time lapse and we'll keep going.
Life up in the fast lane. Hey. Living life up in the fast lane. And I ain't slowing down, I ain't slowing down, I ain't slowing down. Living life up in the fast lane. Pedal to the ground, pedal to the ground, pedal to the ground. Living life up in the fast lane. Life show you lemons, you just put them in Coronas. Coronas, Coronas. I've been working, I need that advance with the bonus, the bonus, the bonus. Ain't no thoughts about tomorrow, I'm just living in the moment, the moment, the moment. Fool, take a gas at 200 on the dash, bitch, I'm zoning, fast lane. Living life up in the fast lane. Hey. Living life up in the fast lane. And I ain't slowing down, I ain't slowing down, I ain't slowing down. Living life up in the fast lane. Pedal to the ground, pedal to the ground, pedal to the ground. Living life up in the fast lane. Living life up in the fast lane. Hey. Living life up in the fast lane. And I ain't slowing down, I ain't slowing down, I ain't slowing down. Living life up in the fast lane. Pedal to the ground, pedal to the ground, pedal to the ground. Living life up in the fast lane. Losing track of time, but it's always on my side. Hit the still to feel the vibe. On my mama, I'm so live. Popping bottles around 9, and them ladies about to slide. Hey, I'm just living live. I'm just living live. Hey, rolling. Don't know if I'm coming or I'm going home for the summer in Miami when it's snowing. Might just end up in your city, baby. You won't even know it. Might just find out from the ground while I'm posing with some grand. Hey.
All right, happy New Year, everyone. Out here at night, we've just got the passenger side all dialed in. You're watching the time lapse for that. I've just kind of come back to the driver's side, starting to kind of button a few things up. Get scat tube in for brake ducts. I've actually just added this hole here. So these are the shims that I've been talking about. So each of these shims are 1mm. At the moment we've got this set for 3.5 degrees of camber. You take one of those, 3 degrees of camber. You take one of those shims out and it will take it to 3.5. We've got extra shims, so we can put some shims in so that at the drop of a hat, back these 2 bolts off, put like a jacking screw in here. That'll push this clevis off. We can put a shim in or take a shim out, and camber adjustment is going to be that easy. So yeah, from underneath, obviously I've still got to go through and tighten everything and just give it all a full nut and bolt check and make sure, yeah, just everything's ready to rock and roll. But it's all looking pretty good. Shock's got nice room. We do have a bit of a clearance kind of issue, which I've talked about with Sean, to that control arm there, which is limiting the caster. With this, we're going to go a slightly shorter spring, and that'll give us extra room. So we should be sweet once that's all sorted. So we've got a 9 kilo 200 mil spring in there. We're probably going to bump up to like a 12 kilo 180 mil spring. So that should give us that clearance we need. At the moment, so Brypar had come through with the rotors. I'm just got to check if I've got them on the right side, but that'll be next problem. I've actually just started making the adapters. So these bolt through into the Janetta knuckle. They space it forwards 17.5 mil, and then these will pick up on for the AP caliper. Sorry, I'm still in the car. So Sean's got some nice AP calipers, so we'll use those. But yeah, other than making some chips, that'll probably round out this video. I want to try and get one up for the weekend while everyone's on break. Can sit down and watch a bit of a video and have a catch up of where I'm at. So yeah, there should be there'll probably be a part 4 to this. I will keep videoing now that the kind of foot's off the gas a little bit. We're on the home stretch and I feel pretty comfortable. We'll do a bit more video stuff. So anyway, brakes. I'll chuck you guys up in the little camera. You can watch me make a mess. But yeah, that'll probably end it off. So cheers everyone. We'll catch you later. Living life up in the fast lane. Living life up in the fast lane. 20 mil in mil. I really hope you guys managed to catch that.